It was a CFP for, is it called Rhetoric and Composition 2.0? Is that what it was?
Yeah, way back.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like a call to get people in the field who were doing digital stuff in various ways, right? Whether it was your own scholarship, your pedagogy, different programs. Essentially just see how kind of the field has gone
And
digital.
then
Is
when I
kind of
started my job at College of Charleston, I noticed there was kind of the absence of a digital culture. I'm kind of in print land. And I started thinking about how FSU was a little bit like lightning in a bottle. And I started thinking about how much the symposium kind of contributed to that culture where people are making cool stuff. And so I think part of it was a motive for me in writing the piece was just to kind of figure out what was happening there, and then maybe what that could look like at an institution like mine where there aren't graduate students, where things tend to be much more interdisciplinary than disciplinary. A digital culture is hard to create. Lots of things need to happen for that kind of culture to emerge. This is one thing that can happen. We kind of noted things we would do differently, and I hope maybe those are heuristic for people in thinking about how they might put on similar events.
and
But
how does it benefit other people besides knowing this history? And so, able to revise it in a way that offered practical advice to those outside of our institutional context.
It's been useful and I think continues to be useful to us to just sort of have I don't want to say template, but um, a starting point, I guess. I did a national survey on the WPA listserv and followed up with some targeted interviews and collection of teaching materials. And I'm trying to kind of paint a picture of how music is being used in college writing classroom right now.
Um, Matt Davis and Stephen McElroy and I have been working actually for the last 2, 3 years on this piece for Kairos that we interviewed 25 scholars in digital rhetoric when they were at the Indiana Digital Rhetoric Symposium about kind of the best practices in digital rhetoric. I was, it kind of started from the idea of like, well, people are calling themselves digital rhetoricians, and this is kind of this subfield that's emerging. So, like, what does that mean?
yes, I've got a piece I'm doing with a colleague here, Chris Warnick. It's an institutional critique piece about a program they developed here. We're trying a digital methodology to figure out how students are experiencing that institutionality. So I'd like to see an update, not necessarily by Brooke, to lingua fracta, like a new theory after we've gone mobile, after we walk around always connected. What's our lingua fracta?
We do need some new theories. It does seem like I mean, the strength and the weakness of our field is that we're not afraid to sort of draw from a grab bag of interdisciplinary theories, but we don't want to sell the farm either, right? And so how do we kind of stake our place and theorize and add value to the discussion at the same time that we're having conversations with people who are not necessarily in the field.
How do we handle fake news, the circulation, and the rise of that? I mean, the Nazis are back, right? And they've got a platform that they didn't before. So like, how do we deal with bad ideas? I think pedagogically as a field, we've often been taught to kind of go more sophistic and bring in multiple ideas, that kind of practice of dis or logoi, and pitting them against each other, and the good ideas will emerge. But some more and more lately, I think we've got kind of a civic and a moral obligation to ferret out and suppress bad ideas. Um,
I'm in podcast land,
Mhm.
and there are two that I love, and these will say everything about me. Alien Theorist Theorizing. It's three kind of Bush League drunk Canadian guys who Google a conspiracy and write a book report and talk. The other is Last House on the Left. Same kind of premise, but instead of Googling it, they read a book instead.
And so I've got this Airtable is sort of this online cloud-based Excel type program, and I just decided I was going to list all of the books that I read this year, and whether they're fiction or nonfiction, tag them some way, and then have like a 3-sentence description of them. And it's allowed me to see that I read a lot of crap when I'm not reading for work.
That I spend a lot of my time reading Twitter, which, given the tweet itself, there's you really do binge Twitter, right? Like it's almost designed for it, regardless of how long you spend on it.